Hi everyone, and welcome to all the new subscribers on my channel, and welcome back to all the old subscribers and all the regular watchers. I am super excited to bring episode 2 of Junk Journal Joy today, which is a new series that I'm building on my channel. And this series covers the process videos of all the junk journal spreads that I make. This has been a long overdue request by so many of my students on platforms like Skillshare and Udemy, where I teach my courses, as well as on my social media handles where I share snippets of my junk journals. So, yeah, I have heard your request, and I'm finally building this series where you get to see these in depth, long, detailed tutorials. Or rather, process videos of how I make these spreads. So, no secrets here. Anything and everything that I use is available or visible over here for you to see and have fun basically. So for today's project, I'll actually be working with this little mini collage that I had created on day 37 of my 100-day mini collage challenge, which I started in 2023 and then finished it in 2024. So it took me a little longer than 100 days to actually finish this challenge. And I want to make a companion page for it. And so the first thing that I'm doing is just going through some of these collage papers that I had created using a shibori inspired technique. And I actually have a class on it on Skillshare. So in case you're interested to make these collage papers using minimal supplies, then you should definitely check out that class. I'll leave the link in the description box below. And so some of the papers that I had created were actually failed attempts, or they were experiments, or they were basically just not good and they didn't make the final cut. So I'm actually going to be using all those failed attempts basically for today's spread. And so one of the papers over here that you can see is something that didn't make the final cut, but I love the fact that it has this abstract feel going on. And I love the fact that the ink was flowing nicely. It has a crumpled paper effect. The texture is really wonderful. And while this was a failed attempt for the shibori technique, it definitely looks like a complete A-lister or like a complete spectacle, or like the most beautiful prized possession that I have currently when it comes to this particular spread, because look at how wonderfully it goes with the collage. So yeah, I love the texture, I love the colors, I love everything that's happening with this particular paper for this specific project. And as I always say, whenever you're making collage papers or whenever you're working on any art project, whatever you think is not working for you currently will definitely be useful for you in a future project. So do not throw your art projects away. And especially if you're someone who's into collage and mixed media techniques, then literally every leftover paper or every failed attempt or every like exercise or every poor outcome is a gold mine for you to use in a future collage project. So yeah, keep saving all of it. Okay, so yeah, so for this project I was actually leaning more towards keeping the heart collage on the left side of the journal spread. So the first thing that I did was decide on some sort of like a placement for this textured abstract background paper. And I always obviously want to use the best parts of every paper. So I'm just, as you can see, I'm just trying to gauge where the most interesting parts are in that paper, where the ink kind of flows nicely, and where there is a lot more interest and drama. So I want that portion to be visible. And then of course we're going to keep adding layers. So yeah, so I'm just going to stick this as my first layer. Then the next thing that I want to do is basically build some layers. And at this point, I basically start picking out papers with different values. So I look for lighter papers, darker papers, some medium value papers, and then just try to build some layers. And over here, I'm starting off with this dark blue mulberry paper. I'm actually not 100% sure whether this is mulberry or sa paper or rice paper, because I purchased this big pack from Amazon which had a mix of all these textured papers. It had mulberry, rice, sa, and so many other papers. So yeah, this one feels more like rice paper because it has a slight crispiness to it, and mulberry paper usually doesn't have that kind of crispiness. But then again, I'm not an expert in paper making. I just know that I love textured papers. I'm just not an expert at understanding how they work or how they're made. I'm still learning that bit, but anyway. So this is what I'm sticking over here. And usually for these papers, I end up using the matte medium instead of regular glue, because these papers then just kind of fuse in really well with the background. This one, of course, is a slightly darker blue, so you can't really see the layers under it. But with the lighter colors, especially with the more thread-like translucent mulberry papers, you can actually see the layers under it. And then it kind of creates like a beautiful translucent effect, which is great. And so I love using the matte medium for that. But by all means, if you don't have the matte medium, then you can, of course, use regular glue as well. And it'll give you a similar effect. Not the exact same effect because the glue will not fuse it, it'll just stick it. But this kind of gives like a more sort of seamless effect, and that's what I love about using a matte medium for these kinds of papers. So now the next thing that I wanted to do was get done with the left side of my page. And for that, I was looking for different placement options with all the different papers that I had. And I didn't want to go with something opaque because that would completely hide this beautiful textured abstract background with that failed shibori paper that I had, that inky paper. So I decided to go with vellum over here because it's translucent and you can see the layers under it. And this is this beautiful printed vellum paper that I have, which I had purchased as a set from a local supplier over here. Vellum usually does not react well to water-based glues, which is why I use the glue stick, which is acid-free, and that usually does the job for all kinds of vellum papers. But what I've come to realize is that you kind of have to do like a little bit of trial and error with different glue brands when it comes to vellum, because if you end up using the wrong glue, then the vellum tends to become really soggy and then it starts to crumple up and it tends to roll and buckle, which you obviously don't want. Unless you purposely like that effect, then that's a different thing. But in this particular case, I wanted it to stick straight. You can actually see that it's kind of trying to roll up a little bit, but that's not because this glue doesn't work, that's because I didn't press it hard enough. So yeah, over the next few minutes, you'll actually see me pressing it over and over again till it actually sits and settles. And because my collage had a few hints of purple in it, I decided to use this washi tape, which also had a little bit of purple. It's again a very bluish purple, like it's on the cold spectrum, and it's not so much as a warm purple, which is why I decided to use it just a little bit over here. Overall, the dominant color is still going to be blue. Well, I just want to add these little hints of purple here and there, just so that there's a little bit of more harmony with the collage. And as you can see, the purple is kind of not taking away from the whole blue vibe. In fact, it's just adding a subtle detail, to the page overall. The empty white patch in the top right corner of the page was kind of bugging me a little bit, and I was not sure as to what I could do over there. So I tried to play with some leftover bits and pieces, but they were not going so well. And then I thought that maybe adding another purple image might work. but then that was also not really working so well. So I finally decided to go with this little piece, which is again part of some kind of ephemera or journaling pack that I had purchased. And I like the fact that it has that little bluish purple thing going on at the top, but then also at the same time, like, it's not so heavy on patterns and details that it'll distract from the main image. So it was just adding like a subtle detail behind the vellum, and that's why I decided to use it. And so again, the reason why I was able to do this was because I took this decision soon enough, in the sense that if I had waited a few more minutes to take this decision, then I probably wouldn't have been able to remove the vellum so easily. And also because I hadn't pressed the vellum so hard that it completely stuck onto the paper. So this is something that I always do. I don't press down the elements too hard, and I don't glue them so hard in the very beginning itself, because sometimes I want to layer things and I want to have the flexibility of removing the top layers and then kind of adding something behind or overlapping stuff. You can of course do like a full placement right in the beginning before you glue down everything, but then for me, honestly, sometimes that takes away the fun of like doing things in a flow. I'd like to make mistakes and then creatively work around them rather than having like a super planned approach, because the whole point of junk journals is to relax. And I find that the less I plan stuff and the more intuitively I do this, the more I tend to relax. But then, of course, relaxation is subjective, and maybe you're the kind of person who likes to plan everything in the beginning, and that is what makes you feel relaxed. So, yes, you can totally do all your layering in the beginning and then go about sticking it one by one, and that could also work. But yeah, basically, you do you. And usually, like I said, don't stick everything right in the beginning, just so I can have a little bit of flexibility. So with that rough placement of the coat that I wanted to place over here, I then moved on to the right side of the journal spread. And over here, I again decided to use a combination of mulberry and rice papers. As you can see, these are again translucent papers. They have a lot of texture, and they kind of just go with the whole vibe of the spread. You can see me pressing the vellum over and over again because it keeps coming off. And it's also slightly weather dependent. In humid weather, it doesn't stick as easily, so I kind of have to keep pressing it over and over again. Usually what I do is, after I film the tutorial, I kind of put like some weight on my journal spreads. I try to like keep some heavy objects, preferably like books and stuff like that, just so that everything kind of just gets pasted really well. But yeah, eventually it does get pasted properly. I was actually quite keen to use this Polaroid window cutout that I had with me, because again, it had hints of purple and blue, and I felt like the whole floral vibe was kind of going well with the main collage, and it also kind of complemented the washi tape that we had used. So again, I'm just kind of like trying different placements over here to see how much of the dark blue I should keep and how I can create a balance between both the pages, and also like how I can create harmony in the spread overall. The decision to use the rightmost mulberry paper was purely because of balance and harmony. Because we've already used a patch of it on the left side of the journal spread, I obviously wanted to use some portion of it on the right side as well. And that just kind of helps to unify the whole piece. Then at this point, I actually wanted to add some more bling and pizzazz to the whole spread because I noticed that the butterfly on the main collage had these beautiful golden edges, and I wanted to bring in some gold in my spread again to create some harmony, but also to just like bling it up a little bit. And so I had this beautiful golden tape with me, which interestingly is a tape which I've had for almost 28 years of my life. Yeah, it's not a joke. I've had this tape for 28 years. Apparently, this is something that I used when I was in grade 1 or grade 2. And it is a leftover from a particular art project back then. And when I moved back into my childhood home to live with my mom for a little bit, I realized that she had saved all of my school art supplies and like leftover projects and basically all my school stuff. And I had this huge stash of art and craft supplies, and so I found this tape over there. And it's not the best when it comes to the stickiness, because of course it's lost its adhesion and stickiness over time. As you can see, I'm struggling quite a bit over here to try and stick it, but it's still shiny and it's still so pretty, and it just fits so perfectly for this particular project. And so I was absolutely thrilled to discover this tape. Believe me, the 7-year-old in me just kind of like sprung up with happiness, like sprung into action rather. And I try to use this tape on literally every project for the next few days. Now I have very little bit of it left, so now I have to be judicious about it. But yeah, once I discovered it, I remember there was a week full of gold tape projects because I was just so excited to find this roll of tape. Anyway, in this case, of course, I'll have to use a little bit of glue to make it stick properly because as you can see, it's not very good now. But it's still so pretty and so shiny. Interestingly, this tape has not gone out of fashion. They still make this tape. I still see it once in a while at random art stores. But yeah, fun to use it now after so many years. And then again, for the sake of harmony and balance, I added a little bit of that purple washi tape on this side as well. And you can see that things are basically starting to come together now. It is starting to look like a unified spread instead of looking like two separate papers. So at this point, I liked where things were heading. I wanted to add a little bit of text inside that window collage, and I had this sticker sheet with me. So you're actually supposed to peel off the sticker sheet and then use it as a sticker. But in this particular case, I'm actually cutting it out along with the backing paper because the sticker in itself is actually translucent. So if I try to place it on that dark blue background, you won't be able to read the text clearly, which is why I decided to use it with the backing paper. After that, it was time for me to add the quote, which was going very well with the overall theme of the collage. And it says, "All who wander are not lost," which is kind of really pretty because, just like butterflies that wander everywhere, it can be so beautiful to just wander around. And just because you're wandering, you're not necessarily lost. So yeah, lovely quote over there. And then I decided to reuse my photo corners and give my collage a final placement. These are the same photo corners that I peeled right in the beginning of the video, and I'm reusing them because, of course, once you peel them off, then they lose their adhesion and their stickiness. And so I'm adding a little bit of glue and reusing them. And if you want to see how these photo corners are used for storing all kinds of art projects and how you can use them in a journal, then I have a video about it, which I'm going to link in the description box below. And in that video, I actually show you how you can store your Zentangle projects using these photo corners. I love adding these because it gives me the flexibility to pull out the collage at a later stage. So instead of sticking the collage all the way through, this makes the journal spread a little bit more interactive. And at some point later on, if I want to just pull out the collage and admire it separately, then I always have the option of doing that. After that was done, I was not really sure on what to do with this negative space over here. Honestly, I know that some of you will say, hey, the collage spread is done and you should just call it a day over here. But I wasn't done because I realized that I was missing some of the bright blue and the sky blue kind of elements which were going on the left side of the page. I basically wanted that particular shade of blue to be on the right side of the paper as well. And so I had this little tape with me which had these blue flowers, and they were in the shades and tones of all the colors that we have used on the left side of the paper. So they all had those same blues and same bluish purples. And so I just used bits and portions of that and decided to add some more details on the page. Then, for the sake of more details, I added a few butterflies and flowers here and there using these stickers that I had. Again, they are tints, shades, tones of the same blues and purples that we have been using so far. And just tiny little details here and there which kind of make this spread a little bit more detailed and a little bit more interesting. And of course, the whole butterfly theme is just getting more and more emphasized. And the whole spread is kind of just like coming to life like a field of butterflies. So I love that we have golden butterflies, we have these purple bluish butterflies, and then we have the big blue butterfly on the main collage. Then I also added this tiny little sticker which has little pearls made on it, and I thought that was also kind of interesting because it added like this little ornamental value to the spread. The photo corners on this particular project were slightly difficult to deal with because I had stuck them on top of the vellum using regular glue, and vellum does not work really well with regular glue. So it was a bit of a pain to keep pressing it over and over again. But eventually, later on, I did manage to press it all down and it was all good in the end. But yeah, you see me struggling quite a bit in the video. So yeah, if this happens to you, you know that it happens to me as well. So don't worry about it. It's not like something's wrong with you or something's wrong with the paper. It's just a combination of various things: the weather, the glue, the paper type, so many things. So yeah, don't worry about it. And so yeah, now you see me adding these little pearls here and there. So because we added the pearl sticker, which had those 3 little illustrated pearls, I thought that it'd be a great idea to add some real 3D pearls as well. So these are actually those half pearls, the flatbed ones. And so I felt like it was making the spread look so glittery and so pretty. And so yeah, it just feels like so much like the 16-year-old in me feeling happy and satisfied with everything that I've done on this spread. So yeah, totally fell in love with this spread after I finished it, and literally sent pictures to all my friends saying that I finished this spread, because the teenager in me was just like super satisfied. So yeah, that was the spread for Junk Journal Joy episode 2. And if you're liking this series, then please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And also, I don't know what came over me, but I decided to add like this little washi tape on the top over there. I don't know if I'll keep it. Maybe at some point later on, I'll be like, hey, I don't like it, and I'll remove it. But I don't know what came over me. And so I thought that you guys should know that sometimes I just get these random ideas last minute. And so this was one of my random ideas. So anyway, here are some pretty glorious shots of what the spread looks like. And I hope to catch you on another episode of Junk Journal Joy. Till then, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and keep creating. Bye.